I'm Jordan Raynor, and this is the Word Before Work.
Today we're reading from Matthew 7, verses 3 through 5. Here's what Jesus said. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Again, that's Jesus speaking in Matthew 7, verses 3 through 5. Out of nowhere, my colleague blindsided me with a super offensive comment, the kind of remark that could have easily destroyed our working and professional relationship. I was furious. I wanted nothing more than to retaliate against my friend, but by God's grace, I took some time to see the plank in my own eye and realize that I had contributed greatly to the conflict. I went to my friend and apologized for my part in the disagreement. And before I could even address the speck in my friend's eye, my friend offered up a sincere apology of his own. Today, our personal and professional relationship is stronger than ever before. This is an example of what author Ken Sande calls the golden result, which is a corollary to the golden rule. As this expert peacemaker explains in his book, The Peacemaker, quote, if we blame others for a problem, they will usually blame in return. But if we say, I was wrong, it's amazing how often the response will be, it was my fault too, end quote. How does God often bring about the golden result in conflict? By his people following this biblical principle. Here's principle number 4 in our series. Pluck the plank from your own eye before you address the offense of another. Commenting on Jesus' words about planks and specks in Matthew 7, Pastor Tony Merida says this, quote, our assessment of the other person in a conflict is wrong because something is blurring or blocking our vision, and it's not a speck, it's a 2x4. Jesus is saying our vision in the midst of conflict is totally compromised when we fail to assess ourselves first, end quote. So, how practically do we go about plucking the plank from our own eye? Here are 3 ideas. First, accept Jesus' premise that you are the primary contributor to the problem. Again, here's Tony Merida, quote, while we most often think the other person has the log and we have the speck. Sure, I can own up to about 10% of this conflict, but they are most certainly creating 90% of it. Jesus flips this assumption around, end quote. See Matthew 7. Second, ask God for supernatural humility to see how you've contributed to the conflict. And third and finally, journal about how you may have contributed to the conflict in the note I've been encouraging you to build throughout this series. Need some help? Journal through these questions. What underlying desire do I have that this person is allegedly blocking? And is that desire God-honoring? What habitual sins, fears, insecurities, or past wounds might be fueling my reaction to this conflict? If a wise Christ-like mentor observed this conflict, what planks might they see in my own eye? And then finally, in what ways can I demonstrate Christ's work in me by owning my part in this conflict? I'm praying those practices put you on a path to pursuing peace with those you work with today.
Today's devotional only scratches the surface of how God's Word connects to our work. If you want to go deeper, sign up for my free 20-day devotional called The Word Before Work Foundations at twbwfoundations.com. These email devotionals are designed to help you gain a rich understanding of the biblical narrative of work, how exactly your work matters for eternity, and what those truths mean for how we ought to work today. You could sign up right now, again, for free at twbwfoundations.com.